Hey everyone, so today we're going to see how we can um, crawl an entire blog for all the blog posts, right? So we'll see how we can get blog posts from an example blog. Right? So we're going to use Copy Blogger, which is a pretty famous blog, and I'm on the blog page, and I want to get all the headlines in the Copy Blogger blog. Okay, so we're going to do just that using Scrapy and Python, of course. Right? So here I've put some boilerplate code so that we can save some time, which I imported Scrapy and also the crawl spider, which is going to be used. That's what we're going to use here. And we don't actually need a beautiful soup in this case, but I always keep this just in case. Um, so all we need is that, and we'll call it something better than this. Right, crawler, copy blogger. Right? Crawler, copy blogger, and then allowed domains are copyblogger.com and start URLs will be the blog URL here. Okay, so now the moment you do this, the spider, the Scrapy spider, goes to work and actually gets this data. Right? You don't even have to actually call any function to start the proceedings, as it were. Right? It'll get into it straight away, and not only that, it'll expect that you're listening for requests. Right? So it'll call back into a function which it assumes will be parse. Okay, and the parse function will have two variables that will come back to it, which is self as well as the response object. Okay. The response object you can just print, and that will be the HTML. In fact, it will be a response.content, so it will have all the details about the response. So in this case, we can just print the response and see it. But we're trying to now, the response contains the HTML, so we're gonna see if we can pull out the data that we want from it, right? So for that, we're going to use, in fact, the response dot css selector command in Scrapy to pull this out. Here we can actually use, for example, we can use a hashtag to identify elements, dot operator to identify classes, or even an attribute, for example, like that. You can give an attribute equals a particular value, all of that, right? So let's see what it is that we can find here. It depends on the website. So I'm just going to let's say right click and try and inspect. And when I inspect in Chrome, what do I find? I find something interesting. I can see that the h2 class is the entry title. It says the entry title is h2 class. Okay. H2 is pretty good as I think as a it's something that we can rely on, but we don't even have to bother because we just go with the entry title. I don't think that'll be something that'll be misplaced for something else, right? So I'm just going to copy that class and use the selectors here and call that class, right? I could even just go h2, give me all h2s, but somehow I just favor this for some reason. It's nothing particular, but I feel like then we can follow a pattern, right? So I'm just going to go extract, and this will give me an array of all entry title, anything that has that class entry title. So I'll call it, let's say, titles, and put that into the array titles. Right. Now let's see if we can extract the link behind it, which is the link here. This is the ahref, right? So if we can extract the link, which also luckily has a class name for us, which is an entry title link. So we can go back and sort of put that here. So if I just copy paste this and take this and put that here, entry title link, that will give us the links, doesn't it? As an array of all links. But there is a problem with this because it will give us again the headline, because even inside the link you can see that the content of that link itself is The anchor itself is the headline. So we don't need that. We need the href attribute. So we're going to call the attribute here. So instead of just doing that, we're going to call, we need the href tag, and then the attribute will be called this way, the tr, and then the attribute that we need is href attribute. That will give us the link itself. So those links will go here as an array. And now this is an array. They need to be mapped together somehow, right? So what we'll do is we'll run through the array. And for that, we're going to use and combine these two arrays. So for that, we're going to use a trick, which is the Python zip function. So for that, I'm going to combine a for each here for item in zip of titles, links. Okay. Now I have a combined array, and each of those combined arrays now I'm going for each of them. Right. So here I'm gonna, if I say item of 0, that will give me the title, and item of 1 will give me the link. Right? So both two arrays combine into one array and then breaking them into items, but then we'll put them back into a dictionary here. So I'm going to call this all items so that there is a combined array finally, and then I can associate whatever values. I can give it an associative array rather than just sort of a non-associative array. So I'll call that title, individual titles now, right? Not titles. And then I'll call that item of 0 dot txt, right? And then I can call link, not links, and then item of 1, not dot txt, because in this case I want the txt, right? Not txt, sorry, I don't think txt matters in any case. I'm thinking beautiful soup in my head. Very sorry about that. That's it. Once we have that, then we can yield these all items. That should be enough to print out. I'll call this blog crawler cb.py. Okay, and I'm going to run it in a particular way, by the way. So I'm going to call, this is the way to run it. So I'm going to actually run it with some parameters to Scrapy. So Scrapy run spider and block caller cb, and user agent we're going to define as Chrome. We're going to pretend to be Chrome, and also we're going to disobey robots.txt. Okay, we're going to make sure that we don't obey that. Scrapy by default I'll obey. So in case robots.txt bans on copy blogger, it will not be able to get the data. So I'm going to run that here now. Okay, there you go. And what have we got? Yes, we got this, but we got nothing else. All right. So we're going to print there all the items to see if we can get the item of 0 at least. Let's just see if we can get the headlines. Okay, we've done something here which is not working. Let's see what that is. Copy blogger. Let's see if I have copied by any mistake. If I made any mistake. Entry title link. Oh, I think I know what is going on here. I think I know what's going on here. Yes, so I'm calling entry title link, and I'm expecting a ahref to be inside of this. The href is it itself. All right. So what I can do is I can just either call href on this or the href tag on this, or I can just call the child of the h2 the entry title class, right? So what I can do is instead of calling entry title link, I'm just going to call entry title and the child of it and give that as the extract, right? So I'm going to try that now. Let's see what happens. There you go. And you can see here, there's one problem though. You can see here that it's able to get the entry title for me, but it is also getting the entire sort of the HTML. We don't need the HTML. We want to do away with the HTML. That's where we can use Beautiful Soup. Okay, Beautiful Soup has a beautiful function which can, that's why it automatically was coming to me, which can sort of nullify that .txt. It's called a text extractor, right? It takes the HTML out and gives us a text. Let's see what happens now. Right. We still have a problem because we did it at the wrong place. We need to do it here. So print the .txt. Print beautiful soup of item of 0 .txt. That should give us enough. There you go. Right. In fact, I will do away with this because the printing will anyway happen. So I'm just going to do away with that. Yeah, so if you see the title and the link are printed, right? New look for whatever, Happy New Year, whatever, when you're ready for a change, don't hesitate. And then the link as well. You can see that very clearly here, right? It's scraped from this particular URL, it says. Should we stop here? No, of course not. Let's see if we can now quickly ask Scrapy to continue getting each of these links. We got all these links here. Why don't we ask Scrapy to continue to keep getting those links? Okay. This is a good place to do it, isn't it? Inside this for loop. So what we'll do here is we're going to ask Scrapy to give us Scrapy dot um, actually sort of scrape this as well. So you can say request the request or just basically is a fetch object. It'll simply fetch that URL. So I'm going to call item of 1, which is a link, right? So request item of 1 will contain the link always. And then we need to give it a callback. So I'm going to call to handle the response. I'll declare a function called so we're retrieving blog post, so I'm going to call it parse but last blog post. Okay, so here I'm going to define a function called parse blog post, p-o-s-t-s post. Okay, whatever, doesn't matter. Separate this a little bit, then it'll also have the same, give us a response. Here let's just print the response to see if we have actually triggered out everything right. So for a second we're gonna say fetched blog post blah blah, right? So fetch blog post what response dot URL. So each of those URLs should be gotten by it. Just we're gonna return null. See what happens. I think what it is, I know I need to yield this. Okay, yield, then only it will actually do it. Here we go. guys, see, fetch blog post, new look copy blogger, blah, blah, blah. All these are blog posts that it's trying to fetch. Okay, so fetch blog post here also. Right? The output is a bit ugly. That's the thing with Scrappy, but it works. Now, is this enough that it's fetched or sort of disappeared the data? So now we're going to actually save this data, and let's just save it into some sort of file system. Right? I have a folder always called storage, so we're going to save it inside the storage system. To do that, we just use the 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 the, the we just open a file and write into it and then save it and close the file. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now, and for that we need to figure out a file name. That is a big challenge actually, not saving the file name will be let's put it in storage first of all, and storage slash response and dot URL. So here we can't put the whole URL, it'll create a problem in the system. So, but we'll split the URL, right? And with that operator, and then we will see if we can get the, if I look at the URL here, let's look at the URL here. Let's take any of these URLs. It says copy blogger, so 1 0 1 2 and third. This portion is what we need. All right, so that'll be, if I use a slash splitter, it'll be 0 1 2 and 3. The fourth one, therefore the third 3 is the index. So I'm going to put the index 3 once we split it, and then I'm going to save it as an HTML file because I need the contents to be opened easily. Right. So now I'm going to open the file name. Okay, and I need to write in bytes as, I want to get the open thing as f, and after write, simple write function should do the trick. What do we write? We can't just write response, be careful, called response called dot body. That will automatically write everything that we need. And once we've done that, let's print saved blog post into what? Into the file name. And let's check if we've saved it here in the storage area. So it should populate here. And let's just see if we can run this now. Boom, 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 you can see it coming. Right? All the blog posts are here, named beautifully. Okay. And here also it says saved blog post into storage, new and copy blogger.html. So that's it. That's the way you can crawl a blog, all the blog posts inside a blog. This is not enough. Make sure that, for example, the user agent itself is rotated. By the way, there is an option here which you can use to actually bring the user agent here. If you just settings option here, and you can rotate it. So you should get a bunch of these user agents from the internet, put it in an array, and simply keep rotating it. Otherwise, you'll get blocked. Even after that, if you really want to do it seriously, and if you want to do it frequently and fast, you will have to use some sort of rotating proxy service. Right? In fact, I happen to run a company which does that, and I'm going to shamelessly pitch that to you now. Proxiesapi.com, and you must know by now that I know what I'm doing as far as web crawling is concerned and web scraping is concerned. So you can just go to proxiesapi.com, use by using a simple command, you can actually scrape by just passing the, for example, copy blogger URL in this case, and your API key to our API endpoint. You will pass it through a pool of a couple of million rotating proxies. So what happens then is that there is no way your IP will be exposed, and the IP keeps changing all the time, every request. So there is no one pattern, there is no one IP to block, because it'll be coming from all over the place, and your scraping will go without getting any IP blocks. In fact, we automatically rotate browser identities. We do automatic retries in case something fails. Proxy rotation, of course. We even do captures for you automatically. Right? So scraping becomes a very scalable process because of this. Even if you don't sort of subscribe to this, it's easy, by the way. You can actually just sign up with just an email address, and you don't need any credit card, and you get 1,000 API calls free per month, permanently for free. And all you need is an API key and start calling this one. Even in not, if not, I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you.